What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now, in this video, I'm going to be taking you guys through a wildcard draft for the upcoming Game Week 9. Also, just want to put this out there that the deadline for Game Week 9 is going to be happening on a Friday evening, so make sure that your guys' teams are at least finalized Friday afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you are on the world, so there's no tears come that Game Week 9 deadline. But in terms of this video, as I mentioned, we're going to be going over a wildcard draft. Now, I know we did actually activate the wildcard chip yesterday, but I went over to Fantasy Football Fix and looked at the stats of the overall and the top 1000 managers, and it was actually quite interesting to note that only 3 to 4% of managers have actually used the wildcard chip. So yes, there might be those of you out there, maybe you're watching this video right now, that have not activated the wildcard chip and might be considering it for Game Week 9. If you guys already activated it, what you guys can use this video for is just to give yourself a little bit of a template, maybe with those free transfers and those hits, to kind of get to this team, as this team does look quite strong for these upcoming game weeks. So that's something you guys are interested in. As I said, for the wildcarders and not the wildcarders, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So before we get on to the actual wildcard team / draft, I want to give you guys a reminder about the Champions League. Now, as you guys are watching this video, if you are watching it as I've released it on Wednesday evening, you would have probably already seen the Chelsea lineup. And I think the Chelsea lineup is going to be the most important piece of information that we do get out of the European football this midweek, just because it's going to revolve around Romelu Lukaku. Now, Tuchel a couple of days ago came out and said that Romelu Lukaku is looking a little bit mentally and physically tired. Now, being physically tired is one thing. I think that he just needs to be rested in the occasional game, and that's the reason why I'll be looking at the lineup tonight, because if he does get rested in the Champions League tonight, he should be fine for Norwich on the weekend. But being mentally tired is a completely other story, and this might actually be leading towards Lukaku getting a little bit of an extended break. That has been a little bit of a rumor that's been going around. However, I don't think there's too much to back that up. I think that kind of a football player wants to play football, wants to be on the pitch, so I'm pretty sure Lukaku won't want to kind of go on a holiday to recover. So tonight's Chelsea lineup, if Lukaku does get benched, I think that he will play on the weekend against Norwich, just because you always want a player that's a little bit out of form to play against the easier oppositions, and I don't think it gets much better than Norwich at home in the Prem. And the reason why we really want Lukaku to start is that he does become the best captaincy option this Game Week 9, in my opinion. I know there's Mo Salah around. A lot of people are actually going for Mo Salah over Lukaku, even if both of them did start their respective games. But I'm on the Lukaku bandwagon. I think that he's the best option to go for, even though he does play the first kickoff on Saturday, doesn't play the first kickoff of the Game Week 9, as there is a fixture on Friday evening. So the kind of superstitions about the early kickoff is not going to be relevant in this specific game week, and that's why I think all eyes kind of turn to that Norwich fixture, and I think that Lukaku should probably do quite well. Now, saying this, if Lukaku plays tonight in the Champions League, take all my kind of thinking out the window, as that's going to be quite hard to predict. If he plays tonight, plays on Saturday, I don't know if he's going to be up to that in terms of fitness. But I'll probably drop the comment down below, so go check the comments, the YouTube comments down below if you guys want to get my latest insight into that if I do upload this video post the lineup being announced. Last night we also had Man City and we also had Liverpool playing their respective teams. Liverpool, not much to talk about there. They looked to be on red hot form. Mo Salah included in that. Took the penalty quite nicely and also had a little bit of a deflected shot in the early minutes of that fixture. I don't really know if it's a Mo Salah or a James Milner goal, but you guys can kind of decide that for yourself. But Liverpool looking quite strong, maybe not defensively. Did concede 2 goals to Atleti in quite quick succession, but I just generally think Liverpool are looking like quite a strong team, and they do face United. Now, that United fixture, a lot of us are kind of considering Mo Salah to be the captain for that respective fixture, and I'll talk about my thoughts on him versus Lukaku a little bit later on in that wildcard team. With the Man City lineup, I know a lot of us do own Man City options, especially in the defense, and if you guys do own Ruben Diaz and also João Cancelo, both of them played the full 90 minutes, Cancelo getting a goal, Diaz not getting anything, not even the clean sheet at the end of the day. But it was also interesting to know that Laporte was taken off early into that kind of second half, about the 60-70 minute mark, which does show like Pep Guardiola is trying to rest him for this upcoming game week. Walker was also one of the notable players that did feature. We also had Foden and Mahrez starting in that respective starting 11 along with Jack Grealish, and then we also had De Bruyne with, I think, Gundogan getting a rest. I think if you guys do want to take an outside punt on a Man City option, Bernardo Silva looks to be in good form and also was taken off a little bit earlier on into that second half, so I think that he'll be rested for the weekend up against Brighton. And because this video is being released on a Wednesday, we obviously do have the fixtures tomorrow on Thursday between the Conference and also the Europa League, so keep your guys' eyes on that, as there are some other Premier League teams playing in those respective games. But now going on to the wildcard draft, as I'm sure most of you are watching this video for. As I mentioned in the introduction, only about 3 to 4% of the overall managers, and including the top 1000 managers, have actually used the wildcard chip. So my personal self, I used the chip in Game Week 8, and this team looks a little bit similar to that team with some notable changes. So making this team for this video, I became a little bit jealous as I went back on some of the decisions that I made on the Game Week 8 wildcard. So basically what this team is this is you guys learning from my mistakes on the Game Week 8 wildcard and implementing those corrections or those solutions into your Game Week 9 wildcards. So to get the admin out of the way, I did have 0.0 million in the bank. So if you guys can't afford this draft, just simply downgrade maybe an Aspilicueta to someone like a Chilwell. And if you guys can afford an upgrade, maybe look at some other options. Maybe take a Brownhill to a Douglas Luiz, or maybe even a more expensive option. But starting off on the bench here, you'll notice that it's quite sided to Brentford. And the reason for that is that Brentford are playing simply outstanding right now. And also they do have some lovely fixtures coming up from Game Week 10 onwards. So unfortunately, that's why I did choose to bench two of my Brentford assets in Game Week 9. That's going to be in Bumo and also Pinnock. In terms of the defense, he comes in at 4.6 million, which provides a nice little entry into that Brentford defense that has been quite solid, to be honest. And with those lovely fixtures coming up, as previously mentioned, I do think that Brentford could keep a couple of clean sheets. But Mbumo, what's there to say about Mbumo besides woodwork? Has hit the woodwork about 7 times this Premier League season. So I'm just hoping that he can find the shooting boots over these upcoming game weeks, as he should be on for some massive hauls. But as I mentioned, really do like Brentford, and if you guys are going to wildcard in Game Week 9, I probably would stack Brentford because of those fixtures from Game Week 10 to about Game Week 14. In goal, I also do have Foster, and you guys might have noticed that Sanchez has a relatively bad fixture against Man City, even though it is a home fixture. And that's why I just wanted to note that you could always start Ben Foster instead of Sanchez if that's kind of your preference. I'm a little bit up in there at the moment. It's kind of a 50-50 between Sanchez and Foster for me. I trust Brighton's defense slightly more than Watford's, but on paper, the Everton fixture looks better than the Man City one. The last player on the bench is going to be Brownhill, just because he comes in at 4.4, relatively cheap, but you guys can upgrade him if you have more money. As I mentioned, Douglas Luiz is someone that I would have on my horizons. Relatively strong bench here, but I don't think you have to worry about any of your starting 11 players not featuring, unless it's going to be one of those defensive rotations for Chelsea or Man City. Really kind of touched on Sanchez, but you guys might be wondering why I didn't opt for Ramsdale or maybe the Brentford goalkeeper. And the simple reason for that is I really do trust that Brighton defense. And I think if you guys are going to wildcard in Game Week 9, probably won't use a transfer on your goalkeeper till about the second wildcard, which I think most of us will probably use quite late into the season. So I think Sanchez for the long term, perfectly fine option to go for. And as I mentioned, that Brighton defense does like to keep it quite tidy. I've opted for a back four formation, and you guys will see why, considering the fixtures that my players do have. Starting off with Livramento against Burnley. Now, Livramento is providing such good value for money at that price point. Did have a price rise last night to 5.3 million, so you guys can get him newly priced rows, but I still think he provides good value for money as long as he is below that 4.5 bracket. Southampton have proven to be quite a good defensive side. Maybe not the best attacking side, but that just shows you that they really are relying on that defensive performance to get them those draws or those wins. So I'm perfectly fine with playing Livramento in Game Week 9, considering that it is against Burnley at home, and Burnley overall have been struggling from an attacking point of view. And add that to Southampton's good defensive form, I think this could be easily a clean sheet for Livramento. Doesn't offer the most attacking threat in the world, so pretty much if he's going to play, the most he'll get is 6 points, but that's perfectly fine at 4.3 million. Now going on to the next 3 defenders, and this is kind of the power 3. I've opted for the most expensive defenders from these respective teams. Starting off with Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now I can understand if you guys might want to downgrade Trent, but I just think looking at the midfield departments and looking at the forward departments, you can easily have an adequate midfield and attacking department with Trent in your starting 11. Now as I mentioned when talking about the Champions League, Liverpool's defense isn't looking at its strongest self, but I do think over these next couple games, there's still a potential for Liverpool to keep a clean sheet, and with Trent, you always are relying for some attacking returns as well. Aspilicueta is my favorite Chelsea option just because he does offer some attacking threat, and also the fact that he is quite nailed on in that starting 11 just because he can play at that right wing back slot or as a right centre back, so it does offer a little bit of versatility there. But I'm expecting Reece James to pretty much hold that right wing back slot, and that's why I'm hoping that Aspi can continue to play as a centre back. If you guys can't afford this draft, I would recommend going with the Chilwell if you don't want to go with Aspilicueta, just because it's kind of a mistake I made on my Game Week 8 wildcard. Yes, I think Reece James will be nailed for the upcoming game weeks, but I just think Chilwell offers more of an attacking threat, and if he does play, won't come off the bench, whereas Reece James has the tendency to do so. Then finally, probably the most attacking defender in the Prem at the moment besides Trent, it's going to be Cancelo from Man City. I do prefer the Portuguese international, the Portuguese fullback, over his Portuguese compatriot in centre-back of Ruben Dias, just because from an attacking point of view offers more of an attacking threat, and he does seem to be quite nailed on in that starting 11. Now there has been some centre-backs that have returned from injury. John Stones and Nathan Ake seem to be in the mix there for a starting position, and that's why I just worry about Ruben Dias, but I do think he should be assured for most game weeks, but I still do prefer João Cancelo as my Man City defender. Now going into the midfield department, the 3 in midfield comes in a little bit cheap, but then we also have our big hitter, which is going to be Mo Salah. So Mo Salah, no brainer there. At his price point, I still think he provides massive value for money. Now you guys are probably wondering why I don't really want to captain Mo Salah over Lukaku. Now this could change if Lukaku does start tonight against Malmo in the Champions League, but with Mo Salah, I'm pretty much never going to captain a Liverpool option against Man United, especially because it is at Old Trafford, and I just think that these games are quite boring usually, and United Liverpool never live up to the hype. Also, what I'm expecting from this game is that I think United will park the bus and then counter-attack, just because I think this suits the style of players that they will probably play with the likes of Rashford, maybe a Sancho, and then also Ronaldo up front. So I think overall this game will be probably quite a cagey one, and I just think that Mo Salah might struggle on that right wing slot, even though he is in sensational form. The next 2 midfielders I'm going for is going to be Rafinha after returning from a really good international break, picking up a couple of goals and assists for Brazil. I think that hopefully he'll translate that form into that Leeds starting 11, and I think with those Leeds fixtures coming up looking quite strong, I think that Rafinha could provide good value for money. But in the final midfield I'm going to be going for is going to be Conor Gallagher from Crystal Palace, and the simple reason for that is that he offers some good fixtures and some good form. So Crystal Palace right now, we saw them on Monday night against Arsenal actually playing some really good football at the current moment, and that's why I think Conor Gallagher is going to be a great option over these upcoming game weeks, especially in that game week 9 fixture against Newcastle. Although they have new owners, against Spurs didn't really put up the defensive performance that we were expecting. I think that Conor Gallagher could exploit that defensive line. So Gallagher almost provides a nice little differential here, and if you guys are going to wildcard in game week 9, I would probably go for him, just because in game week 10 has a tougher fixture, but then from game week 11 onwards provides some nice fixtures coming up. And then finally, going on to our forward department, our front 3. Now you will note the notable emission out of this team is going to be Antonio from West Ham. I just think right now Antonio's not in the best of form, and overall West Ham aren't looking that strong from an attacking point of view, and that's why I think going for maybe some other alternatives could provide better value over these next couple game weeks. I'm going to start off with Lukaku because we've already mentioned him. Just kind of watch out tonight for that Champions League lineup. If he starts tonight, I would be a little bit worried about him starting on the weekend, but if he is benched, I would pretty much be assured that he will start against Norwich at home. Great option to go for. No reason to go without him if he is benched, and I would probably captain him. Our more budget striker to go for is going to be Ivan Toney, just because we want to take advantage of those lovely Brentford fixtures coming up from game week 10 onwards. And Ivan Toney, although he hasn't been on the best of form, I do think over these nice fixtures, he should probably boost up those goals and assists, and he is on penalties at the end of the day. But if you guys were to choose one of Mbeumo or Toney, I would probably prefer the midfielder, just because at 5.5 provides better value for money, and I think overall the stats are looking a little bit stronger from the midfielder's point of view. Then our final forward to go for is going to be Jamie Vardy. Now I know I might be chasing points here after a relatively good game week 8, but I just think Vardy's fixtures and Leicester's fixtures coming up might be a little bit hit or miss, but they do look quite strong, and I think that Leicester at the current moment have to score goals if they want to win fixtures, because defensively they just don't look up to scratch. Vardy also carrying some good form at the current moment, so that's why I want to jump on him while he does have some good form, and the fixtures also look quite good. So overall, I think this Game Week 9 wildcard is making me at least a little bit jealous. Hopefully not making you guys a little bit jealous if you have used your wildcard. But if you are on a wildcard this week, I would probably go for something similar to this. Kind of stack the defense with some good options, and then bring in you a little bit of differentials with a Gallagher and a Jamie Vardy. But let me know if you guys were to wildcard, or if you are on a wildcard, what your current draft would look like or is looking like. Just because I always love to see your guys' suggestions in the comments down below. But this is basically wrap up the video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like it if you did, and subscribe if you have not subscribed yet. I'll be posting the preview or the ultimate guide tomorrow, so make sure you guys also drop your comments down below if you want me to cover that specific talking point. I'll be signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.